So someone posted a comment asking about, trustworthiness of like code between a couple of projects. So a while ago, it's been almost a year ago, I posted a video about like using CalyxOS and kind of like a month or so of using it. And that's basically what it was. But kind of first real quick, hey, I said switch. Um, I finally hit that 500 subscriber mark. You guys are awesome. Yeah, thank you. While we're at it, let's go look at the comment. Okay, so obviously this is about a lot of drama around GrapheneOS. Dev sounds like he's highly skilled, but seemingly has some sort of maladjustment disorder that makes him a neurotic psycho on the internet. Your thoughts on the trustability between Calyx and Graphene? This is obviously like, what apps does Calyx ask about installing? And so this is kind of a loaded question. I kind of did some like research for a little bit about like kind of what's going on. And yeah, there's kind of like some drama that was brewing that has finally kind of like bubbled over after Louis Rossmann made a video. And some other people have since commented on that video, and it's kind of turned into this spiral against GrapheneOS. Really what I want to focus on are the merits to the operating systems being compared here, rather than the person with it. Because there can be like some personal beef that someone has with other people, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to implement that into their code. Okay? So, GrapheneOS, touted as one of the most secure mobile operating systems you can install on your phone. Basically, it comes with no Google services pre-installed, but it gives you the option to sandbox Google services into a separate user. So you basically have two users on your phone, one for the Google services and installing Google apps and things like that, and then one that's free of all that stuff. There are reasons to do that and reasons to not. There's a certain usability standpoint that then it doesn't have. So one of the criticisms that people like Techlore may have with it is the fact that it's not easy to install, and I guess, the former lead developer, McKay, talked about how other people have recommended removing the safety checks from the install script in order to be able to bypass it and, just install Graphene onto the phone. Now, if you install checks onto the phone, or into the script for a phone setup, they're there for a reason. And this makes sense why. Is because you don't want to break anything, and there have been reports, apparently, that removing this check has bricked phones. The reason you have that is it gives you, hopefully gives you output on what you need to do to shore up your phone in order to prepare it for a GrapheneOS install. That's just plain like usability. We don't want to break anything. Sense that even corporations have, where like if you try and connect a personal device or a corporate device to a wireless network, it's going to check your system for anything that isn't shored up. And then, at least in best practice, it's going to quarantine it until those things are remediated, or going to put it on a remedial network in order to remediate those things so that you can later on be put onto the network. Let's see. Do you have the script in web installer? Standalone platform tools. Fast boot. Unlocking the bootloader, Signify, images, flashing factory images, and okay. Okay, give me a second while I pull up the script. Okay, so here's the install script, the flash shell script that you use when installing GrapheneOS. Again, it says do not edit this. Um, and they strongly recommend using the web installer. So let's see. Let's see. We check our that fast boot is there. We check the version of fast boot. And then we check what product we're trying to flash. So, and then it goes through the flashes. So it probably skips some of these checks here. And the version check makes sense because you want to make sure that it's an up-to-date release. Because if you're continuously developing and you're updating your tool set, then if you're using the latest fast boot with your development tool set, then you want the release version to also use that as well. It's kind of like in ROM hacking where there's a certain point where like some of the Pokemon projects will update their RGBDSO version in order to take advantage of some of the newer features that it offers. And so you have to have a more up-to-date version of it. Like in my OpenBSD video where I was trying to compile a ROM, it couldn't compile because I didn't have an up-to-date version of RGBDS, and I didn't have ports set up so that I could compile RGBDS on there. But the version that was in there at the time was not up to date. I've since checked it, and RGBDS is up to date in the ports CVS. But this is probably one of the checks that was removed by some other recommendations to get it installed. And then also it's possible you could skip like this device check, but you should be vetting which device you're trying to install on, or there should be some steps, I believe, along the way to check which device you want to install to. Again, those are all things that make sense, and from a coding standpoint, they are warning you about everything there. And would I trust something like that? Yes, I would trust code that basically says that. Now, some people bring up that, like, Louis Rossmann sounds like he's, like, accusing McKay of potentially putting in something harmful into the code, something malicious into the code in GrapheneOS. Which is like, that just doesn't seem like anything. It's like open source. Everybody vets it anyway. And so that's just the way it is. And hopefully the other team members would be there to vet that. But if you're the lead developer and you input malicious code, then you may be able to get away with it without the others vetting it. Unless you have don't know GrapheneOS's process of checking code before it gets merged in and then distributed. But we saw this with Node IPC, where the developer himself put in malicious code to destroy data as quote protestware to the Ukraine situation. And this ended up destroying a lot of data that was being transmitted. And this even got its own CVE at the time, too. So we've seen it before, and it's a possibility to say that it would not happen. In my opinion, to those people that have said that it's not something that, like, is unfathomable, it's like, no, it's completely fathomable because we've seen it before. Now, have we seen reason as to why that would happen? Have we seen it happen before to where they've intentionally input malicious code in? No, we don't have that track record yet to show that this person specifically would do it. But we've seen it happen in other open source projects before, like Node IPC. So, and again, you can look at the other features, and there's a team behind it, obviously, because GrapheneOS is more than just like a modified version of Android. It's got the web browser in it, a separate camera app, PDF viewer, and so on. Let's see. Vanadium is their Chromium fork in WebView. You've got GrapheneOS Camera, which I have used before, and I have installed on my phone with CalyxOS. The GrapheneOS PDF viewer. You've got your backups, like encrypted backups through Seed Vault. So this takes a lot of like upstream stuff, and so you're basically expecting that in GrapheneOS itself is one aspect, in the Android fork itself is that you're going to have the malicious code put in there, where someone else is probably managing Vanadium, the camera, PDF viewer, and so on, and attestation. So these are other components that like play a part into it, and there's a lot of upstream that you have to take into account too. So it's, do you trust the whole team behind it, or is it this one person that you're worried about? In general, I think you can trust the code base for GrapheneOS. So would I recommend GrapheneOS? Yeah, I think I would still at this point, because I don't see a reason to not trust GrapheneOS as of yet. And as long as I stick to their objectives in GrapheneOS, then I see no reason to not trust it, just because the former lead developer went off on people the way that he did, and the other people went off on him the way that they did. So it's kind of like this back and forth drama going over it that kind of like fuels a lot of this fire. But yes, GrapheneOS, I don't see any reason to not trust it, because there's still more people behind it that help the project and go put their, their contributions to the project. So the next one, so it was kind of like the initial question, like I said, was between, well, like I read, is between Calyx or Graphene. So Calyx I've been using for the better part of the last year, and it's basically standard Android with all the Google stuff removed and microG put in it in place of it. I've done a number of previous videos already on it, and yeah. So I don't know if I would recommend. So it comes like set up to where you can install Tor browser if you want to. It comes with F-Droid pre-installed and things like that. There are some things that I've come across in the blog that I don't quite agree with, but my main thing is, do they stick to the mission? Because if they've still got reason to want to keep the project private and the code or the compiled code private so that they retain their privacy, then that's something I'm pretty sure they pass on in the project down the line. Because again, this is another project supported by a nonprofit as well. The Calyx Institute supports the development of CalyxOS. And most of CalyxOS actually relies on, again, more upstream stuff as well. One thing that CalyxOS does differently than GrapheneOS is integration with some other apps. So if you like install Signal, when you want to make a call, it will ask you in the dialer from the contacts app whether you want to use the default phone like Signal. If you install WhatsApp, it asks about that too. Now, so it does use some of the integration with other apps that take advantage of like phone number integration that way to build on it. So that is a privacy concern to an extent, you could say. And being as it doesn't come with Google Apps installed, but it comes with microG, and that can be a concern for a lot of people too. It's a matter of balancing what you want in your system. Are they going to take that data and sell it? No. Does it still phone home to Google servers? Yes, it does somewhat because of microG. They do update microG with each update of CalyxOS as well. Like I said, I've been using this for the better part of the last year, and it is a pretty usable phone for many of the privacy benefits that you get, like the scrambled PIN and many of the others that are on parity with GrapheneOS. It probably isn't as hardened as GrapheneOS. You still have the option of switching out your web view to something else. So it uses Bromite for its web browser and web view versus Vanadium, which is built by Graphene in-house. So micro G depends on if you trust that. Mozilla Location Services, again, if you trust that. And then think Nominatum, I don't think I've seen before when I first initially got it. So it comes with many of those same features. I'm not sure if these features are in like the standard Android because I never really used it for long or explored it that much for like the Wi-Fi and stuff. And Graphene has, again, many of these same features. Comes down to whether the people behind it are... You can trust the people behind it to keep up with the vision for the operating system versus letting it slide because they're getting slipped some money from this, that, and the other to add this exception in and whatnot as well. And on the, I believe the beta stream, I've been at least getting monthly updates. So there are different like security things and that come along and Chromium updates and so on that I've gotten with it as well over the last year. Let's see. You can set your privacy stuff, a panic button, and I don't think, let me double check, because I don't think Graphene had this. So for sensitive number stuff in the dialer apps, they've got various like domestic violence, child abuse, suicide hotlines, and so on numbers that are in the phone that you can get from the menu, and it doesn't log those calls, but you can access them from the dialer app in a special page in the dial in it, kind of like right next to the settings, basically. So yeah. And again, this comes with a lot of the same features that even Graphene's camera app, like apps come with, like the camera app, like disables metadata, location data, and so on, and a number of other things. The music app is basically a fork of the standard Android music app, and the dialer does integrate with Signal and WhatsApp for it. I don't remember if WhatsApp is an option to install from the start, but Signal definitely is. And I just wish QKSMS was included in there, but that's just me. Let's see, K9 email client. So it's got a lot of the stuff for like, again, it brings all these projects together, and then you're looking at the core operating system, whether that is something that you trust. And CalyxOS is a part of the AOSP alliance with all these other ones that have a more hardened version of Android for more privacy. So F-Droid and so on, scrambled pin, many of the same features that GrapheneOS has. So I haven't really, between these two, I haven't found a reason to distrust the code base of the project. Let's see. So, I mean, the communities, I haven't really gotten into the communities too much, but as far as from what I can tell, there's no reason that I've seen to not trust them. And being as Calyx and these others do push out updates pretty regularly, and especially security updates, I don't know. I don't see what the issue is. If we go back to Graphene, see articles, history. Let me see, releases. I'm not sure where their update thing is, but for the changelog. But yeah, I really, if they push out those security updates in a timely manner like they should, then there's really not an issue that I see. Now I'm going to include a couple other bonus ones in there because there are two other Android-based OSs, AOSP-based OSs, that also focus on much of the same thing. They are not part of the... I don't think E is part of the AOSP Alliance. But E is based in the EU, has the GDPR regulation that they follow pretty strictly, and is another de-Googled one. It has a lot of privacy features as well, and a privacy rating in the EOS store. So they have their own like front end for Google Play and like the apps and whatnot, or app stores basically, so that you can install apps from there. And they've even got their own cloud. There are a couple concerns I do have about the cloud, but I will get into that in like a second. So again, they've got an easy installer. You can download it, set it up yourself, and things like that. So let's see. What apps? Default applications. No. What? Read more. Googling, ungoogling, blah, blah, blah. Advanced privacy features. So again, this gives you privacy ratings. And, I believe, what is it? Yeah. So you've got different privacy settings you can set up and so on. They do follow like that iOS aesthetic. Blah, blah, blah. So let's see. You've got your browser, which is a de-Googled fork of Chromium. Again, well, Bromite. Fork of K9 Mail, supports PGP encryption, so you get that asymmetric encryption. Let me get the right word. I'm studying for the Security Plus, dang it. Anyway. Then you've got a fork of QKSMS. Again, QKSMS is probably my favorite texting app because not only is it floss, but it also lets you schedule text, which has been, in certain situations, has been a very, very nice godsend. And then Camera is a fork of Open Camera, which is actually a really excellent camera app. I mean, the UI looks kind of clunky compared to like some of the other more modern camera apps, but still, it's really cool what it can do. Let's see, Calendar, ATAR Calendar, which is a really cool calendar again, which is also like the base for CalyxOS's calendar as well. So, you know, it's a private calendar, and I like the calendar. Integrates well with Nextcloud and whatnot, and the system calendar that you have installed. Contacts, clock, fork of desk clock, gallery, file manager, yeah. Seems like some default stuff in LineageOS stuff. Sound recorder, calculator, keyboard. So the App Lounge is their special one. Again, I haven't seen anything that for the App OS itself to doubt the code base of the OS as of yet. It is based in Europe, but Europe does have the GDPR, which is good in many senses. Then you've got their Maps app is Magic Earth. So, and then the PDF viewer, Notes, fork of Nextcloud Notes, which integrates with their own cloud, basically. So, they do have Murena.io, which is their little cloud thing that they have set up. And this is kind of where my concern comes in. So if we go back and go up to their cloud thing. So this was formerly eCloud, Murena.io, fully de-Googled online ecosystem. It integrates with your phone, stores everything you have up to a gig of storage. It does like Office integration, and is privacy friendly. Let's see. Have an email account, drive in Cloud Office Suite in their service. powered by Nextcloud and OnlyOffice. Now I'm not sure if they encrypt the data, that's the thing. So they don't track your data or scan your data, but is it encrypted? So if someone were to get into it, they would not be able to see it in plain text or anything. That's the one problem that I kind of see with it, is like, is the user's data protected? Because, let's see, files are seamlessly synced and always available to you on the go with your smartphone for your browser. Agenda and context. Let's see, personal email account. You can integrate encryption into it through email being sent, but yeah. Let's see, Office Suite. Okay, self-hosting. So you can self-host it, of course, so if you're worried about that, you do have that option. Let's see, wind-powered servers. I don't really care about that. GDPR compliant, that's nice. Available on any device. There was, which one was it? Blah, blah, blah. I think I had to open a new cloud for it, or tab. Okay. Privacy policy, yeah, I did. Okay, so here's the privacy policy, which is what I looked into. So again, it doesn't seem like, as I was kind of like skimming over it, no providing any PII unless basically legally obliged. This information isn't disclosed to third parties unless legally obliged to do so. So being in Europe, if they've got your PII and they're required to by law there, then they will disclose it to those legal authorities. Let's see, they honor do not track personal information. They only, let's see, blah, 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 information on their site, blah, blah, blah. So they've got their number of stuff. How do we protect your personal data on our servers? So it's contained behind secure networks that are partners, so is only accessible by a limited number of persons who have special access rights to such systems and are required to keep the information confidential. Again, this doesn't tell us like whether it's encrypted or not, because you've got, so let's see, your partners are a cloud provider, so it doesn't give details on the SLA or things like that, or what kind of CASB that they are using in that situation. In addition, all sensitive information you supply is encrypted via SSL technology. I'm assuming that that's TLS and not SSL v3. So, in transit, it's encrypted. Whether at rest, they do not exactly disclose that, but it's only limited to certain people that have permissions to see that through their partners. So I would encourage them to like put more detail into whether they encrypt that data or whether that is in their agreements with their partners in order to hold that data encrypted. And if they don't have that in their agreements, then I would encourage that to be put into their agreements and probably put that as a base surface layer thing in their agreement from here on out. So finally, another one is IodeOS. This is a French project. Again, more focused on privacy, de-googled, and has built-in parental controls. So if you have children that you want to hand a phone to, this may be a good option. It also has a pre-integrated blacklist for blocking various different traffic for different ads and whatnot. You can see most of it is ad guard stuff. And let's see, Bad Boys hosts, blockers, Bjorn Stars post, let's see, coin blocker for your crypto, easy list because Everyone uses that. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Easy list privacy, so you've got some of the privacy blocking, you've got some of the tracking blocking, fanboys, social media blocking, H block. Let's see. So yeah, a lot of these are actually pretty good, like host blocking. So yeah, again, built-in parental controls. Their parents, they have children. They don't want their kids to see things that, things. Let's see. So yeah, you've got porn sensors and social network sensors, because social networks can be an attack vector for your children. And yeah, and spying on the children that way, like TikTok, it can reduce some of that tracking from it. And in some ways, I would hope that it blocks social media overall in there, because social media can be an attack vector that people use to groom children as well. But if you're not blocking social media, at least take the time to go through and double check that they're not like getting those kinds of messages. Let's see. So they've got the privacy respectability. Again, I've seen no issue with like the IODE project where they would have any distrust with their code base and the OS itself. They do use, again, a lot of like other apps in it. Aurora Store, I quite like Aurora Store. It's very nice. It's just can be somewhat slow and clunky, particularly with the anonymity anonymous sessions, because it complains about API keys being used up. And then F-Droid, of course. I've since kind of been using Droidify over F-Droid because of UI and the available repository list that you can enable and disable. Let's see. IODE browser, which uses Firefox as a base instead of Chromium, which is different from the other ones. So, and mobile Firefox actually has add-ons that you can put in, including uBlock. So for that reason, I would recommend like a Firefox-based web browser for uBlock if you're browsing around and things like that. There are certain cases where a Chromium base does work better, sadly, but Firefox is good for a lot of things, particularly if you want that really good ad blocking or general blocking that uBlock provides. See, pretty easy privacy is the default email client. Nice. Let's see, Magic Earth for maps, uses OpenStreetMaps. See, I've used a number of these apps that use OpenStreetMaps, and I found that their navigation is rather hit and miss. So hopefully, yeah. Geometric weather, and Calyx uses geometric weather as well, I believe, for their weather app by default now as well. See, Carnet, note-taking, OpenBoard for your keyboard, which I think pretty much every other project uses. Open Camera, again, I've talked about this. QKSMS, the godsend itself. Again, QKSMS was kind of one that when I found out it had scheduled texting, I immediately switched to it, and has since been my default, because I've used other texting apps that have that feature and they have ads in it, and I don't know why you need ads for it, for like sending text messages. But QKSMS is a very feature-rich one, and is also free and floss, basically. And then MicroG finally, again, integrates MicroG like CalyxOS for some of that usability that, you need for some things to work. Again, MicroG doesn't have the play thing going on so that you can like integrate with games, but it allows most apps to work pretty well. So Now, overall, with all these projects, do I have issues with it? No, they all have their use case. Iode I would use in the case of for a phone I might hand to a child, because it's got that parental control stuff in there. And you're able to limit what is available on the phone for the use case of the child, and then they have to check in if they want to install an app or things like that. It's also privacy focused, so if you use it as your own phone, then you are basically using the exact same thing. And it's based on a de-googled version of Android as well, just like all the others. It may not have some of this... It basically has some of the same backup features that Calyx would, because it would use many of the same systems. Calyx just has the convenience of asking you to install that backup stuff, and Graphene, I believe, does about the same thing. The E project has all that in their own cloud, whereas these others use other apps to do it, and you have to trust those apps to basically, be private. And it's probably somewhat easier to vet those because it's a variety of sources that are able to more focus on their thing versus, being one whole project that kind of does everything at the same time. So you integrate the best of what other people have put together so that you can focus on the main core of what you're doing. But to the core of the question, CalyxOS or GrapheneOS, I trust both of them so far. I mean, like I said, there were some things that I came across with CalyxOS that kind of rubbed me somewhat the wrong way. But if they are sticking to their mission and they've still got, like, skin in the game for wanting to keep it private, then I'm all game for it. If something comes out to where they tried to hide something that directly affected the operating system, that would be definitely something that would, make me question it and probably think about switching. And I've seen that for neither CalyxOS or GrapheneOS, so I don't see why you couldn't use either one. And a lot of people have issues with GrapheneOS because of McKay, the former lead developer, and that has since changed. So, in a sense, they've rectified that situation. And maybe they put him in a different spot so that he's still involved with a project and still putting input into it, but he's not public-facing. If you enjoyed the video, then like, comment, subscribe, feed the algorithm, boost the video up, share this video with your friends. If you found it informative or you just want to chat, I've got plenty of places in the description, Discord, Guilded, and what have you. Check those out, and I will see you guys in the next one.